The question being asked is, why do Jnanis suffer? So first we have to understand what a Jnani is. Jnani is that one who has realized his own self, right? So Jnani in modern terms we can say is the enlightened person or the enlightened one, what we call the Buddha, you know, or someone we say who is liberated, who has attained moksha. So this is a Jnani. Gnana is knowledge. So in Advaita Vedanta, when we use the word Jnani, we mean that one who has Gnana, who has attained Gnana. So Gnana is not knowledge. In general sense of the word, it is knowledge. But in Advaita Vedanta or in terms of spiritual liberation, so to say, the right idea is that Gnana pertains to the knowledge of the self. So Gnana is not learning the Vedas or the Upanishads or the Shastras or any mundane knowledge as well. Whether it is spiritual knowledge or mundane knowledge, a person who knows that is not a Gnani. He can be a Pandita. Gnani is only that one who has known his self, who has full knowledge of the self, who has realized the self. That is a Gnani. So the question being asked is, why does this Gnani who has realized his own self, why does he suffer? Not that every Gnani suffers, but is there suffering for a Gnani? And if so, why does he suffer? So let's dig into that. So if a Gnani is fully realized, shouldn't suffering be a thing of the past? Because what does Gautama Buddha say? Siddhartha Gautama, he says that moksha or nirvana is the end of suffering. So if moksha or nirvana is the end of suffering, then how is there suffering? How does suffering still exist for the Gnani? Does that mean that the Gnani is not fully realized? So there can only be two meanings. Either the Gnani is not fully realized, so hence he is suffering, or what we know about Gnana or what we know about suffering, the idea of suffering is wrong. There is a misjudgment in these two regards. Or can it be that a Gnani has pending karma? So he has pending karma and is suffering the consequences of that karma. Right? These are the few ways we can look at this question. See, what is very evident is that Gnanis are not immune to sickness, disease, injuries, and death. Not just these things with regard to the physical body. There are stories where even in Ramana ashram, when Ramana Maharshi was there, some robbers entered the ashram and they even beat him. They hit him with a stick, right? So what does that mean? Why did he have to undergo that experience? There are so many stories. There was a very famous saint of Rishikesh. His name was Tatwale Baba, and he was shot at. Some person shot him with a gun, and he succumbed to the bullet wound as well. Why did this happen? See, because Tatwale Baba also, when he was talking only of the self. His sadhana was meditating on the self. Even Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, when he came to India, he honored Tatwale Baba, and there was a very big discussion or a very big talk on meditation on the self, right, on Atma Vichara or Brahma Vidya, so to say. So a lot of people had high regards for this person. So how did this yogi, why did he have to go through that? Similarly, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, everybody knows Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is one of the foremost sages of the modern India, and even he had to suffer. He had one of the worst, he had throat cancer and he suffered. So why was he suffering as well? So it is very evident. Even J. Krishnamurti, at the end of his life, he also had to suffer. He also went through, some issues and all that. So what does that mean? It shows that Jnanis, first of all, it is very evident that whether you are a Jnani or a human being, normal person who is not enlightened, both the order of beings are not immune to diseases. Whether even a yogi is not immune to a disease. I myself, I had known a a yogi in Bangalore. I had met one person many years ago, maybe 2000s, early 2000s. Yeah, early 2000s. Had met this person, and extraordinarily gentle person. He was, you know, amazing, and he was giving all kinds of dikshas to so many yogis, and you could see the energy that these yogis would, radiate with. But this person himself was suffering. He had some disease which even the doctors were not able to cure. So he had asked the help of some other, Swamijis to come, some other Swamiji to come and help him heal, which was very disturbing for me back then. When I looked at it, I was like, when he himself is giving diksha and he's healing others, why is he not able to heal himself? So these kind of questions arose in me also. So does that mean that this person was not a yogi, or was he not, had not attained the self? Something like that. Even I used to wonder about these questions, and eventually, with contemplation and with just life and experiences and dealing with these kind of things, slowly a clearer picture began to arise. So when we say suffering, we must understand that suffering and pain are two separate things. Pain is not suffering. There can be pain, but you need not suffer from that pain. When Ramana Maharshi underwent surgery and he had a tumor, malignant tumor, which was spreading quite rapidly, he was in a lot of pain. And people would worry and ask him, Bhagavan, are you suffering? Why are you suffering? So, always with a smile on his face, he would always say, there is pain, but there is no suffering. Pain is separate and suffering is separate. The body can undergo pain. See, there can be a sensation of pain in the body. Why must you scream for that sensation, or why must you identify with that sensation and say, I am going through, I'm dealing with this pain and suffer? So what happens is, the difference between a Jnani and an ordinary person is, a Jnani does not identify himself as the body. He does not look at the body and say, this is me. He looks at the body and says, this is a body, and there is pain and there is pleasure. So there is no identification with pain. Whereas we are generally, human beings are wired in such a way that as soon as there is pain, you start crying and say, oh, I am hurt, my leg is hurting, or I am in pain, right? I am suffering, it's so bad. And then you attach series of thoughts to this, and you create a whole process of thought, and then you suffer the consequences of this thought process. So one of the things we ask ourselves immediately is, why me? Why do I have to suffer? There is no suffering at this point, there is only pain. But we say, no, why me? Why do I have to suffer? Why should I go through this? See, we never ask these questions when there is happiness in our life. When there is any amount of joy in our life, we will never pray to God and say, why me? Why are you giving me happiness? Why don't give me happiness? We never say. But even an iota of pain is there, we say, or any suffering is there, we say, oh God, why are you putting me through this? So when I was struggling with something, my mother told me a beautiful thing. She said, when the whole world is suffering, we cannot ask God and say, why me? Right? Even our turn comes, and we also have to go through our preordained, you can say, bundle of pain or whatever it is. We cannot say, why me? Right? We have to go through. We cannot ask God, let the world suffer, but I should always be happy. Right? We cannot do that. There is suffering written, or there is pain written in your destiny. You also must go through that to whatever extent. So first thing is identification. Identifying yourself as the body is the first pain. That is the first root of suffering. As soon as we identify ourselves as the body, we start suffering, right? And then we create a thought process saying, oh God, why have you done this to me? And then next thing is, we try to take this suffering out, right? And most of the time, it's not under our control. Suppose there is a disease, you can take medication. We are not saying don't take medication, but how well that medication works, how quickly it works, and the intensity of it, and how fast you are able to come out of it, is not in our hands to a large extent. We can only focus on the process of healing. We cannot force ourselves to heal faster or immediately or whatever it is. So whatever is ardent for you in that regard, for example, even a small fever or something, you have to go through. You can take your medication, you can start your process of healing, but still you have to go through that thing. So now one thing we were talking about is physical pain and suffering. The second thing is mental mental ordeals, right? The mental pain and the emotional pain, emotional suffering, so to say. The question is, does the Jnani feel grief? Does he have sorrow? For this, there is a very beautiful story. There is a very beautiful story of a sage who had taken up, sannyasa, like, many years ago and all that. And he hears the news that somebody close to him has passed away, right? Like his close friend or something has passed away. And generally, the monks, people who have taken up sannyas, don't go to the funerals. But this person goes to the funeral, sits in front of everybody, and starts sobbing loudly. And he is a very venerated monk, right? He was a very venerated monk. He was a one very well respected, and he has given hundreds and hundreds of sermons on Vairagya. Vairagya is detachment. Thousands of times he has spoken about how the body is Nashvara, the body is temporary, but the soul is permanent, soul is, immeasurable, all these things. The soul is the only reality, Atman is the only reality. But then he looks at his friend's body and he starts sobbing very loudly. And he goes on, he cries and all that. And after a couple of hours, he leaves the funeral home, he comes back, wipes his tears, and goes back to living normally. So the disciples who have watched now suddenly are, they were very enamored by him, but after watching this, how he behaved during this funeral, suddenly they got doubts on their own guru. He said, why is the guru behaving like this? Why is he shedding tears? Why is he so attached to the body? He has taught us from birth, from our childhood, he has taught us not to be attached to the body, but now suddenly he is so deeply attached. So he must not be a, Jnani, he must not be a true yogi. So looking at that, they decide to leave him. But before that, they want to confront him. So the main disciple goes to this Jnani and this person and he says, listen, Guruji, Gurudev, we can't be here anymore. We always thought you're a Jnani and you are not attached to the body, you're talking about Atman. But when the situation happened that you lost a friend, you behaved like this. And we are very, not happy. We are very disappointed with your thing. You have shown your true colors. We don't want to be associated with you. We want to go to a Jnani who is a real yogi, real Jnani who is not affected by the body. So they say, we want to know before that, you've been talking about Atman and all that. Why did you cry? You know that the body is Nashvara, the body is temporary, the body is not real. You keep talking about Maya. Then why did you cry? The Guru says, of course, the body is unreal. The world is only unreal to me. But even then, that person's body was beautiful. It gave me a lot of happiness in life. So he said, even though that was temporary, even my suffering and my crying and my tears and my sorrow was also temporary. Why are you taking my sorrow as real and the body as temporary? The body is temporary. Even my sorrow is temporary. My tears were also temporary. But you are still carrying it. Though it's done and I am done and dusted. I've come back, I'm living my life. But you are still carrying that. So you are still attached to the idea that my guru has to be, in a certain way, behave in a way that you assume he must behave. The point is, even a Jnani will have moments. Even a Jnani will have moments of weakness, will have moments of pain and suffering and all those things. But the deep identification with that suffering, with that pain, he will not go back home and create a story. Oh, my life is destroyed, this friend is lost, or this person is lost, and this is my life now. There is no identification or misidentification with these kind of notions whatsoever. This is the main difference. Whereas another person allows these experiences to shape him, to shape their consciousness, right? And give rise to fear and give rise to all kinds of things that create their identity and reshape their consciousness. Whereas a Jnani's consciousness is beyond shaping, right? Because what clay, what material you need to build the consciousness has been destroyed. So he behaves naturally. Sometimes he might scream, sometimes he might laugh, sometimes he might. Natural to that order of things, natural to that moment. This is the difference. So Jnani outside, he might also appear to be just a normal human being doing his own things and all that. Suffering has ended in him, but momentary lapses, if there were no lapses, even Sri Ramachandra, we worship him as God. Even he was, if you read the Ramayana, even he was lamenting when he heard the news of his father Dasharatha's demise, when he got to know that Sita was kidnapped. He is Rama, we worship him, right? So even he was screaming. He was also screaming in pain and lamenting. So what was that? It is not a show. He was not doing it. Some people say no, it is all Bhagwan's Leela. It is Leela, no doubt it is Leela. But it is not that I will scream now so that Valmiki will write a beautiful poetry about it. It's not a show. He is not doing it. It is natural. See, even individual, even avatar like Rama or Krishna, they are not behaving so other people will look at them and write stories about them. It is a natural order. The way they respond is natural to their own psychology, how they are brought up and all these things. So it is what I'm saying is, whether it is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, whether it is Ramana Maharshi, whether it is Rama or any other avatars, whether even Parashurama. See, Parashurama was known to lose his temper. See, if a person, but we worship him as an avatar of Vishnu. So are they supposed to be in control of their emotions at all times, right? So the main difference what we are talking about is identification with the body as the reality, whereas the Jnani will look at the body as jada, means inert. It has no reality by itself other than with the help of the Atman. So the body is jada and the Atman is what infuses the body with life, right? It infuses the universe with reality. Without the Atman, there is no reality to the universe. This is the main difference. The right question that we have to ask is not whether do they feel pain, but the right question is how do they relate to pain? How do they relate to pain? Do they relate to pain differently from the way we relate to pain? So one thing is, if you poke a pin, every human will feel pain. Whether you're poking a pin on a Jnani, whether you cut, whether you do anything, there is pain. There is blood will ooze. For a Jnani, it's not like there is no blood oozing from the thing. If you use fire to burn, it will burn. There will be sensation of pain for all beings. So it is not whether the sensations will be different, but how do they relate to this pain? So the main difference is, in relation to the pain, the main difference is awareness. See, we are identifying ourselves as the body or this individual. I am saying I am Kanchi and I am behaving in the world as Kanchi. And when I go to sleep, even before going to sleep, I'm thinking, okay, Kanchi is going to sleep, right? But within this Kanchi consciousness, there is a sense of awareness. Now, when you go to sleep, where is Kanchi? Whatever he is doing in the world today, suddenly when you in deep sleep, there is no such person as Kanchi at all. There is only an awareness. And then in the dream state, there are so many things happening, right? You could dream of yourself as a king. Now, where is Kanchi in that dream? There is no identity of Kanchi. There is only identity of the king or the beggar that you become. Maybe you're a tiger in the dream. You can be anything. We all know that in dreams we lose our outer identity and we pick on any identity we want. Sometimes you could be a beggar, you could be a butterfly, right? You could be anything. So which one is real? In that dream, that butterfly, you being a butterfly is very real. You being a bird is very real, right? You being chased by a Rakshasa, for example, by a monster is very real. But when you wake up, where is the monster? Where is the person who is running away from the monster? Right? So which one is real? Even in the dream state, just like in the deep sleep state, there was a seething awareness. There was an unconditioned awareness that was witnessing the dream. That's why when you wake up, there is a continuity from the deep sleep and the dream state to waking state. There is a continuity. Otherwise, who woke up? It is not Kanchi, that is I, who woke up. Right? There is an awareness. When you wake up to the what we call the real state, this is the third state. It's the waking state. This is not the real state as well. When we wake up from the dream state, the consciousness of this waking state arises. That I identify as Kanchi, right? That I say it's me. Now in deep sleep, this becomes, it goes back into its shell. In deep sleep state, there is no Kanchi. In dream state, there is an intermingling of this waking reality and the dream reality. But in all the three states, whether it's waking, dream, and deep sleep state, there is a seething, unconditioned awareness, which is not disturbed by anything. Even in deep sleep, it is as it is. In the dream state, it is as it is, and in the waking state, it is as it is. Nothing affects this awareness. How do you know you are that person who has grown up from a child to this age? How do you know you are that person? Because there is one awareness on which everything has been superimposed. So the thought processes, the mind, the body, everything has been superimposed on this one awareness. The same awareness was there when you were a child, when you were a toddler, when you looked at the world first time. Just look back and see, remember the time when you looked at the world first time and you became aware of it. Oh, this is a world, this is my mother, this is my father, this is my house, this is, India, or whatever, this is my world. That person who became aware, that awareness, right? That same awareness, has been no change in that awareness even now. That awareness is called I amness, the sense of presence. How do you know that you're listening to me when I'm talking? How do you know you're listening to me? Because you're aware that you exist. That nobody needs to tell you. Even in deep sleep, you know that you exist. The sense of existence, right? This is only called Sat. So the Brahman or the Atman, what we say, the soul, it is called Sat Chit Ananda. The sense of existence, knowing that you exist, right? That is only Satchit Ananda, right? So that awareness, you can say it is Chit. That knowledge that you are existing is Sat. And that sense of belongingness or the sense of comfort, being as you are, is Ananda. Together it becomes Satchidananda. Right? So the Jnani is existing in this plane of awareness. He does not exist as I am Kanchi, I am doing this, I am suffering, I am happy, I am sad. No. He is existing on this plane of awareness where he is as he is. Whatever arises and falls. So there is pain, let there be pain. If pain arises and pain is not permanent, it is temporary, let the pain arise and let the pain subside. If you are going to cry, let the tears arise, let the tears subside. Why fight the tears? If there is sadness in you, let the sadness arise, let the sadness subside. Why should you fight the sadness? There is anger in you, let it arise, let it subside. What happens? I'm not telling when you're angry, take something and hit somebody and say, let it subside. That's not what I mean. I mean in an internal way. Whatever arises, let it arise. Whatever has to fall, let it fall. The sense of detachment, detached awareness, sense of vairagya. Vairagya is not just wearing kavi, as in wearing saffron and giving up the world, going to Himalayas or something. That is not practical. That is not happening now anyway. The real vairagya is internal vairagya. Giving up, witnessing whatever arises and whatever falls, not holding on to anything, not grabbing onto this and say, I want more of this, and saying, I don't like this, I hate this, let's push this away. You can't push things away. An uneasy event, any situation, you can't throw it away, right? So not holding, not withdrawing from it, not being repulsed by it, remaining as you are, that is the state of the Jnani. Not identifying, I am this, I am this, I am not this, I am this. Being as you are, that's the state of the Jnani. That is how he relates to pain. He relates to pain just as he relates to pleasure. Let the pleasure arise. Nice breeze, let the breeze. There's good food, okay. Not saying I want this food all the time, or I want this breeze to hit me, It's a beautiful atmosphere, or it's a beautiful view of a mountain or something. Not becoming deeply attached to it. Let it arise, let it fall, let it go. See, this state can be described in a way as the movie screen, right? The silver screen, the movie screen. So when we watch a cinema, on the screen there are so many characters come. There's a fire burning, and there is movies are violent today. There's a lot of blood and gore and all of those things. And then there is romance. The hero and heroine are dancing. lot of romance, lot of things are happening. But how does it affect the screen? Is the screen affected by a horror film? Is the screen affected by a romantic film? Is the screen affected because Shah Rukh Khan is acting in it? Or if some other, Tom Hanks or someone is it? Good acting, bad acting, none of it matters. The screen remains unaffected. Similarly, what we say, Atman is that screen of consciousness, on which, that is the canvas on which the world appears and disappears. Let whatever arise, arise. Let whatever fall, fall. This is the state of the Jnani. And this is not only the state of the Jnani, this is state of all beings, even you and me. It is our state also. We are just not aware of it. How do you become aware of it? How can you teach the eye to see? The eye sees naturally, right? But can you see the eye? Right? The eye can see the universe, but can the eye see itself? This is the state of the Jnani. When you learn to see the eye, when the eye learns to see itself, you can say, you have attained Jnana. You have attained self-knowledge. So another aspect to it, which people don't, another aspect to this whole suffering of the Jnani is people don't realize that to become a Jnani, for example, to be a person like Ramana Maharshi, for example, or Ramakrishna, or so many other examples, even J. Krishnamurti, you want to, even to come to that state of being, they have gone through many lifetimes of punya. Punya is acquiring good merit. What is good merit? Helping people, all these kind of things, being compassionate, being kind. And you attain lots of punya for lifetimes together. And what happens when you attain Jnana? What do you do with all that punya? See, punya means what? A good life. Punya means wealth. Lot of good things can come your way. But a Jnani has no use for any of that. He doesn't need the wealth of the world. It doesn't require to be living in the pleasure gardens and the palaces and have the power, all the power in the world. See, anybody will see. If you see a Jnani, in front of him, the king of kings, the emperors will bow down. There is no power bigger than the Jnani. And there is no wealth greater than the Jnani, Being around Jnani, you've seen so many ashrams also. There are just wealth will come and pour forth. Even in olden times, even in the times of, Veda Vyasa or Vashishta. Who was the most powerful person during the time of Vashishta? Right? Vashishta was the most powerful person. Whatever he wanted, Dasharatha would do for him. Right? Who was the most powerful person during the time of Krishna? Dvaipayana Vyasa, right? Veda Vyasa. Or you can say even Krishna. Or you can say even Krishna. Most powerful. Who can stand in front of Krishna? So Krishna is a Jnani himself. So nothing can, overpower a Jnani's energy. So what I mean to say is, he can have the wealth of the universes, but he doesn't care. For Ramana Maharshi, he lived in a small hut all his life, right? He didn't even have 2 rooms. He had 1 room where he lived and he gave darshan in the same room. Whatever he wanted, he could have attained. He was not interested. So now what happens to all the punya? Does it get wasted? When a Jnani suffers, when a Jnani falls sick, when he falls ill, those around him who serve him accrue that punya, right? They gain that punya. Because whoever serves the Jnani attains punya. And whoever hurts the Jnani attains papa. This is generally in daily life also. If you hurt somebody, you will, do papa or sin. If you help somebody, there is good merit in that. But when it comes to a Jnani, it is a millionfold. The punya that you get from service of a Jnani is millionfold. So even if you touch the feet of a Jnani, your life is pavitra, it's purified. So imagine you're serving. Imagine the people who served Ramana Maharshi when he was suffering for all those years. So even that suffering was a blessing for those people around him. There have been, even today, there are many cricketers, I'm talking about greatest cricketers in the world, for example. I don't want to give names. And there are movie stars, and there are multi-millionaires and billionaires. A lot of it, when you look at their, when you either do past life regression or you look into their roots, you will see that it's all a result of their great punya that they have done by serving a Jnani, not by doing anything else. Because they served Jnanis, because they served realized masters, they served yogis who have attained the self. Just because of that, in some past life they have done that, and they have attained so much punya that they can do anything they want with that. But somehow they end up wanting to enjoy that punya by becoming movie stars or cricketers and just wealth and power, whatever you want to call it, name and fame. They waste it, because what is the real benefit of serving a Jnani is you become a Jnani yourself. Just as a lamp, when it comes in contact with another lamp, what happens? This lamp also gets lit by that light. So the real benefit of serving a Jnani is not worldly benefit. If you are really in tune with him and you serve him, you will attain his state. You will attain a state of being, which is the greatest blessing. It is, all the billionaires in the world will not have a moment of joy that a Jnani experiences for eternity. Right? The peace with which he lives, or the joy in which he's, the bliss in which he lives, you cannot even explain it. Right? The freedom of being a Jnani. Right? So that is the thing. So it is not just that, it's not that he is suffering from the consequences of his karma. See, sometimes it is possible, just like a potter's wheel. When the potter's wheel is in motion, the potter will take the pot out. The pot is fully baked. They take the pot out and keep it, but the wheel goes on, for some more time. It moves for some more time. Similarly, wheel is kala. This wheel is time, right? And whatever we say, Ishvara is turning this wheel. And when the wheel is in motion, a fully baked, when we say a fully baked pot, it means fully baked is a Jnani. Jnani is taken out, but the wheel is still in motion. Similarly, when the wheel is in motion, it like some old karmas will be there. Some prarabdha, some sanjita karmas will come out in the duration of the Jnani's life. Otherwise, a Jnani is impossible to kill. A Jnani will not die. Right? Because there is no kalmasha in him. There is nothing. There is no doshas in him. When there is no dosha, how will he die? So that's why Jnanis, they say, out of compassion for the world, they take. It's like the ocean that receives everything. Similarly, the Jnanis take the negative karmas, the papas of their disciples, of those around them, and receive it. And just like Shiva swallowed the halahala poison during the Samudra Mantana. We will talk about this in another video. But for those who know, just as Shiva swallowed the halahala poison for the sake of the world, every Jnani, when he takes birth, he also swallows halahala. He also swallows for the sake of his disciples, for the sake of the benefit of the world. That is why he appears to suffer. That is how his body comes to an end. So only three things. What can we learn from the life of a Jnani? First thing, we must understand that everybody suffers. Everybody is in pain. Sickness, disease, whatever you want to call it, old age, death. You cannot avoid these things. All beings go through these things, whether it is sickness, whether it is, old age, some injury, whatever you want to call it, and death. Every human being goes through these things. Mental agitations, some fears, anger. Nobody is perfect. There is no human being who has no anger in him. Lust also arises sometimes. Everything arises in everybody's consciousness. So we have to accept these things and know that we are all human. As long as you're living on the human plane, there is some amount of, whether you want to call it pain or pleasure, or some amount of duality. Right? That is the first lesson. Second thing we must understand is shift your identification. Shift your identification from the body. I am this person, I am this body, I am this name, I am a doctor, I am an engineer, I need this, I am this one's husband. Shift your identification from that and move towards the Atman. I am the self, I am Atman, I am Atma Brahma, Tattvamasi. Right? Come back, and realize your own self with the help of self-inquiry. Deepen self-inquiry. Who am I? See, instead of asking questions, why does the Jnani suffer? Why does he do this? Why is the Jnani married? These are not questions that will help you. To help yourself, first you have to do self-inquiry, deepen your self-inquiry. Why am I suffering? Why am I suffering? Why am I going through pain? Why am I not able to, come out of my limited thought processes? Why am I afraid? Why am I still getting angry? Why am I getting triggered? How do I come out of my triggers? All these things, every question we have. If you're sad, I'm depressed. Why am I depressed? How am I able to, how can I come out of my depression? Any of these things. See, the question might be many, but the answer is only one. The solution is self-inquiry. If we say, why am I sad? First you have to ask, who is sad? If you say, why am I suffering? First you must ask yourself, who is suffering? Say, who is suffering? I am suffering, but where is this I arising from? Look within yourself and see where this feeling of I arises. This is self-inquiry. And do not stop. Go to the root of that I. There lies your answer. There lies happiness. There lies freedom. There lies peace. Till then, we will never be peaceful. We will always be afraid and worry and all these things. Right? So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more. With grace and gratitude, see you next time.